Bonjour, mon ami, c'est les Sergeant. You're probably wondering where I've been, and I'll pretty much summarize how and why I've been gone for so long. I don't think I need to say any more other than that. No, but in all severity, this topic has been on my mind for quite some time, and I avoided talking about it because I had seen quite a few videos. I'd seen several people make a video about it, and people even asked me, like, what are your thoughts on it, and why haven't you made a video about it? And I felt like, well, everyone else has already done it. I wouldn't really be adding much to the fire, but I figured, why not? It wouldn't hurt, right? So recently we discovered through fiscal reports that Capcom is financially in the red, which would make sense of why they laid off so many of their employees, and the reasons why they gave it didn't make much sense. But even still, from a common sense standpoint, why does any company lay off its employees? It's either for one of two things. It's either to save money, or it's because they don't have enough money. Or if it's, a personal affair with one of the particular employees, they'll fire them for a particular reason, but that's beside the point. Capcom is in the red, and this didn't come up much of a surprise to me because I observed their fiscal reports over the years, and I remember when they got real low in the red, like I want to say in the 400 million range. That's when I was like, yeah, they're definitely in trouble. They're really in trouble. They couldn't possibly make too many more mistakes. And when Dead Rising 2 came out is when I first started to notice that they started to have a lot of third-party development partnership supports deals that they made, because I mean some of their best designers had left the company by then. There was no more of the people that were going to be making the Onimusha and Devil May Cry games, and Resident Evil pretty much became what it is now as a result, with Shinji Mikami and Keiji Inafune and all the good guys on both sides of those leading developers, directors, teams leaving. It really put a dent in them. But the thing that really alarmed me was the excessive amount of DLC we've gotten from their three biggest fighting games that they released in the past 4 or 5 years, and that's Street Fighter 4, Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and even though I hated Cross Tekken. Now the thing about these games is that Cross Tekken is the only one that has not had a sequel, and from all the bad PR it had and all of the DLC it had, I don't think it will be, and I hope not, because I mean, if you personally, I look at it and I think it's a pretty inferior product. I don't see it being, I don't see it having the appeal that it would need to garner much attention for any typical gamer or consumer. As for the other ones, they have them, but at the same time, they lack a lot of substance. And I remember the year when Mortal Kombat 9 won Game of the Year as far as fighting games is concerned over Arcade Edition. A bunch of people were pissed off, and even though I'm not a fan of Mortal Kombat, I was like, well, they kind of deserved it because they gave us more than just, oh, well, standard online training arcade mode. They gave us more. They gave us a tag mode, they gave us a challenge mode, tons of unlockables. The game was fun, and I don't even like Mortal Kombat, but I have to admit that Mortal Kombat 9 was genius. Now, as far as Capcom is concerned, I'm not too surprised for this sort of thing to happen. For them to have all that DLC shows a sign, and it's not just the DLC for those three games. The DLC they've had for a lot of their biggest products, and the fact that they've been in this habit of releasing there's been a lot of talk about them releasing a lot of their old Capcom classic games, which really and truthfully, what they should have did was focus on their old Capcom games to further flesh out the franchises, instead of depending on the big ones like Mega Man and Onimusha and Devil May Cry and Street Fighter 4, or Street Fighter in general. But as a result, it really messed up their chances of even further gaining any revenue because of all the bad PR they've gained from all of the business practices they've caused. They're starting to get real greedy, and don't even get me started about what they did to Resident Evil. I mean, Jesus Christ, we got Operation Raccoon City and Resident Evil 6, two blemishes in the minds of true Resident Evil fans, and they will honestly tell you that those games are just horrendous. Nobody's happy about the fact that those two games exist, but they made them, and they were purposely made to cash in on the franchise brand name. I mean, Capcom themselves even admitted that Resident Evil 6, they wanted to capture the Call of Duty crowd. And whether they were successful or not, I mean, the game did not do well as far as reviews. I think sales wise it did decent, but I remember this. I remember before the year was out, when the game was released, that on their website they had reduced the price of it. Now that means one of two things: either the game sold well, or they need money to try and get those units out of there. And I'm still not looking forward to ever having Resident Evil 6. I played enough of it. I don't need to see any more of it. And for us to now see Capcom in the financial red, this should be a red herring alarm for them and every other company who would ever be in this type of position to wake up and realize that, hey, what you're doing is not the right way. If you want to you have to satisfy your core fans. You can't just keep trying to cater to some people in a certain demographic. You got to stick to your guns. It's good to try different things out and try and get different audiences. But if you're presenting the same thing and basically alienating your fans that have been with you since the beginning, since the first Strider and since the first iteration of the crossover games, when the first Onimusha came out, you know what I'm saying? Today's fans that you've gained, Capcom, they don't remember those sorts of things. They have no idea what it was like to play the first Devil May Cry when it was new, how exciting it was. They can't relate, and it's actually rather sad. And I really knew that they were in trouble when Keiji Inafune left, because from what I can understand, Capcom, like every other business, they have this restrictive nature about them. And if you can't run their game in the ground, Madden style, then they don't want it. Especially with the stock market being as bad as it is, and the economy and whatnot, it really affects everyone and all of their decisions as far as business is concerned. I hate to see Capcom go out of business, but if that's what it takes, then fuck them. I mean, this is my childhood. This is my childhood I'm talking about. I'm not smiling about this at all. It would pain me to see them go. It really would. But if they're not contributing to anything for us now, then what good will it do us? What have these companies done to us other than fuck around with us and take our goddamn money? Not a goddamn thing. It's gotten me stressed out. It's gotten me pissed off. And then in the end, you're not going to get my money if you're pissing me off. I'm tired of this shit. Capcom, at this point, they can't even make any more mistakes. They can't afford to screw up. They can't afford to make bad games like Resident Evil 6. They can't afford it. One more blow to their sophistication will mean the end of Capcom as we know it. Okay, and that was a reason why, I think that was a real reason why they laid off all those employees recently, in the past, a few months ago. I was reading a story about that. But either way, give me your thoughts. Comment, rate, subscribe. Au revoir. Merci, mon amis.